Yuka Boye is here in studio. Yuka, we're staying with our theme of the night. You're taking us back to Davos, where Emmanuel Macron spoke out against Donald Trump's latest tariff threats.
That's right. Speaking at the World Economic Forum just a day before Donald Trump is set to take the stage there, Mr. Macron said Europe must do its best to be much stronger and more autonomous, describing the US's approach to trade deals as an attempt to extract maximum concessions and to weaken and subordinate Europe. The French leader called on the EU to be ready to activate its powerful anti-coercion mechanism, colloquially called the trade bazooka. Let's have a listen.
Europe has very strong tools now, and we have to use them when we are not respected and when the rules of the game are not respected, by the way. The anti-coercion mechanism is a powerful instrument, and we should not hesitate to deploy it in today's tough environment.
Slightly distracted by Macron's sunglasses there, but talk to us about this trade bazooka. What exactly is it, Yuka?
This is a legal mechanism designed to protect the EU and its member states from economic blackmail from countries outside the bloc. It was proposed in late 2021 after China blocked imports from EU countries that contained any Lithuanian components in retaliation to Vilnius's decision to open a Taiwan representative office. Officially called the EU Anti-Coercion Instrument, it went into force in December of 2023 but has never been activated. Even if a request to use it has been made, it would take months of procedures, and response measures are only triggered as a last resort after all diplomatic efforts have failed. Under the ACI, the EU can impose high tariffs on a country's exports or restrict its access to the single market in a variety of ways, like blocking firms from public procurement or curbing investment. But all these measures could also seriously hurt businesses on the continent, and that's why procedural hurdles are set so high.
And you've got these renewed tensions. They're threatening to derail that trade deal that was reached last summer.
Yeah, well, that was a political deal agreement that was reached last summer, but the deal hasn't been formalised. EU lawmakers were set to ratify it next week, but decided not to move forward with it following the US president's threat to impose new tariffs on European countries that oppose his bid to acquire Greenland. The deal had already drawn a lot of criticism as being lopsided. The EU agreed to 15% tariffs on exports to the US and made massive financial commitments to avoid higher duties, and suspended its own retaliatory tariffs on 93 billion euros worth of American exports. Those tariffs could kick in early February if the suspension isn't extended. Now, the EU is just one of America's trading partners that have been scrambling to respond to Donald Trump's unpredictable trade policies since he took office. Luke Trago takes a look at how global trade has all but fractured in the past 12 months.
As he returned to the White House a year ago, Donald Trump set the tone for his second presidential term.
We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun.
The order of the day was reducing the US's trade deficit through tariffs. First in line, China, Canada and Mexico, who'd ostensibly failed to prevent drugs and immigrants entering the US. Then Trump expanded his scope, first hitting all steel and aluminium imports and imported cars as he sought to reshore manufacturing. It was just the beginning. April 2nd saw sweeping tariffs unveiled under the banner Liberation Day, a baseline 10% levy on everything and everyone, with certain nations hit with far higher duties. The world scrambled to negotiate as Trump crowed.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal.
Tit-for-tat tariffs on China went into overdrive, reaching triple figures before Washington and Beijing held off and pulled back, with pauses on larger levies repeatedly extended. Even US allies weren't spared. The UK reached an early bilateral deal for 10% on its exports, and the European Union bargained down from 30 to 15% with a pledge to buy 750 billion euros worth of US energy. Japan, fearing lost growth and seeking to protect its car makers, also struck a deal for 15% on its vehicles in exchange for a massive investment commitment.
Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. They also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility.
By November, Trump's tariffs had raked in over $236 billion, Far more than in previous years, but still a fraction of the total $1 trillion federal US revenue. But winter didn't cool Washington's love for levies. 25% went on certain AI chips, and Europe found itself in the crosshairs again, as Trump sought to up the pressure on countries supporting Denmark over Washington's desire to take over Greenland, as his trade weapon of choice now threatens not just to fracture commerce, but an entire allied Western world order.
Luke Schrager with that report, and that's it from the Business Desk.
Yuka, thanks so much. That's Yuka Woye there with all the day's business news. Well, up next.